Alright guys, so a ton of you loved my review of the DesView T2 teleprompter with all the tips in there. So I figured today I'd check out another one, and it's the YC Onion Lasagna Teleprompter. I don't know why it's called lasagna. All their products are like food and stuff. It's really weird. But the question is it better or is it worse? Let's find out. So teleprompters are awesome to use when you are wanting to pump out a long piece of content so you don't need to remember a ton of different lines. They are also great to use with clients that are really nervous to be in front of the camera. By having a script in front of them rather than just focusing like straight down the barrel of the lens, it can feel a lot of people, majority of people actually, feel a lot more comfortable in front of the camera. Or on the other hand, it can make them look like really dead in the eyes. But if you want some tips on how to use a teleprompter the best way and make it look as natural as possible, I'll leave a link up here to some tips so you can go check that out. So straight away, I absolutely love the form factor of the Lasagna teleprompter. The one thing that I have to fault about the DesView T2 teleprompter is that you can't fold it flat, and it's kind of a little bit awkward to carry. Whereas this one, you take this off, and that pushes in, and you can take this out. And then that's it, like it folds super duper flat. But also this does come at a cost, so stick around and I'll tell you exactly what that is. In the box you get the teleprompter itself, which is actually a pretty decent size. The first thing I noticed was how reflective that one-way glass was, and to actually set it up to get it working, you literally just fold down the glass to get it to the angle that we need it to work. We have a few different mounts for phones and tablets, some screws and an Allen key. We have a lens hood, which is actually magnetic, which I absolutely love, and this is what allows it to fold down so small. We have a remote to control the script on your phone or your tablet, and then all different size adapters to mount the teleprompter onto your lenses. So straight off the bat, I noticed that the biggest adapter they gave in the box was 77mm, so this is potentially a downsize for a lot of people. So like the lens I'm currently shooting on, which is a 16 to 35mm Canon, has an 82mm thread, so unfortunately, everything that comes in the box, I can't use this teleprompter on this lens. Now you could get around it, you could get a step down filter, so you'd go say from 82mm to 77mm, which would allow you to mount this teleprompter on the actual lens, but then you have to deal with things like vignetting around the edge, and you can't use the widest focal length, and there's just a lot of stuff that you have to, like, a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. Now the actual build quality is pretty decent, like it's an all plastic design, but in terms of like the mold and how clean everything is, it's actually really clean. Like I'm really impressed by how well they've designed this. And another cool thing is that this mount for your phone is actually on this little quick release clamp system, so when you're done you can just take this out and then pack everything away, and that's how you're able to get that super thin flat form factor. Now with the mounts in the box you can fit up to an 11-inch iPad Pro, which is really good if you want like a big source to be reflecting off the surface. But the main problem you're going to run into when using bigger sources like the iPad or a tablet or something is that you're going to have to shoot at a higher focal length because it's going to be seen way more in the shot. Now testing out the different mounts, I noticed that the iPhone clamp, this little one here, that you're supposed to use to hold your iPhone on the back to like shoot with your iPhone with the teleprompter. This allows you to have the widest field of view out of all the different mounts. And with this particular mount, you can shoot up to about 18mm, but this is on a super 35mm sensor, so it's about a 26-27mm with this particular mount. Now one of the biggest things to look out for when buying teleprompters is that they don't use really cheap one-way glass. The problem with really cheap one-way glass is that you lose a lot of light when you're shooting through it, and you also get big color shifts. Now after adding the Lasagna teleprompter, I noticed I only had to add about +7 magenta to correct it. But the main thing and the big downside of this is that you actually lose 1 1/3 stop of light. And to put that into a bit of context for you, the DesView T2 teleprompter only loses 1/3 of a stop of light when you shoot through this. However, one of the big benefits that the Lasagna gains from this is that it's a really reflective surface, and you can see the text on your actual phone really, really easy. Like you can clearly see just how much more reflective the Lasagna one-way glass is if we compare it to the DesView T2. But the question is it really worth it if you lose that much light? Now personally, I would rather lose less light and have a cleaner image coming out of my camera than be able to see the script like really, really good. But again, it's just personal preference, so it depends what your taste is. Alright, so now if I actually swap lenses, I can show you what it actually looks like shooting through the teleprompter. So remember I said that you lost 1 1/3 stop of light, so what I'll do is I'll actually just put the teleprompter on and I won't change my settings, and you can just see how much light you're going to lose when you just put it on straight away. So this is without the teleprompter, and then when I slap it on, let me actually put the filter on first. We'll definitely need that. Now this is off with the teleprompter, and now this is on. So you can see just how much light you actually lose when you just put it on. So to counteract that, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we should be back to where we were. I don't even need 5 actually. 5? So if I had to go from ISO 800 to ISO 2500 to basically get the exact same image without the teleprompter on. I got my shirt on inside out. I was like, why is this so itchy? Hang on, give me 2 secs. Alright, so yeah, the little Bluetooth remote you get in the box is actually really clever. So once you download their app, you can connect this via Bluetooth. It just like searches for it and connects straight away. And you basically got like the middle is your start and stop. The top and the bottom is to basically skip up or skip down. And then the left and right actually zooms the text in and out, which is really clever. And then this bottom one sets the speed. So you basically click it and it just goes up. I think there's 5 different levels of speed, and it goes up and then it will start again. So basically as you're kind of like doing it, you can set the speed and stuff. I wouldn't recommend using this when you're actually like talking to the teleprompter, talking to the camera, because it is quite loud. Like you can hear that. Like if you were trying to talk and do this at the same time, like it's pretty distracting. Alrighty, let's take this off and crank this back down to back lenses. Now for this design to actually work, it needs to have some sort of gap, because obviously as you push it in, it folds flat and there's now no gap. But the problem this causes is that stray light can get in here and it reflects off the back of the one-way glass and then reflects back into the lens. As you can see in this shot, when I shine light above the lens, it starts to reflect the light from inside the one-way glass, revealing the camera itself. Whereas comparing this to the DesView T2, you only start to get like a little bit of flaring on the top of the frame, and that's from the light reflecting from the front of the glass. For me, this is actually a pretty big design flaw, because all they need to do was have maybe extend this out and then have it fold down, so then it fixes that gap and just stops the light going in and hitting the back of the glass. However, keeping all this in mind, I think the fact that it can fold ridiculously flat would be probably one of the biggest selling points for most people with this teleprompter. Like again, that's one of the biggest flaws with the DesView T2, is that this is basically as small as it can get. You can't make it any smaller, and it's super duper awkward to carry around because, like, look at it, it's just awkward. If there was like a hybrid teleprompter between these two, and we took the one-way glass from the DesView T2 and we put it in the actual design of the lasagna, but then had a better lens hood so then the actual light or stray light couldn't get in behind it, like, honestly, that would be a perfect teleprompter. And lastly, I wanted to test whether it was light enough to actually use on a gimbal as well. But weighing in at 460 grams without a phone, it's already like starts to be on the heavier side. And the simple answer is yes, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. Like, I did manage to balance it. It took forever to balance. Like, it just took so long. And once I finally balanced it, there's so many limitations. Like, the back of the camera actually was hitting on the back arm, and there was just, I wouldn't recommend using it on a gimbal, but it is possible if you want to do it. But considering it's only $119 US, I think it is priced really, really good, and it's a very competitive price compared to others on the market. And keep in mind, you are getting a lot of teleprompter for such a cheap price. Alright guys, if you did enjoy this review, then consider liking and subscribing. And if you want to find out more about the YC Onion Lasagna Teleprompter, I'll leave some links down below. And as always guys, stay creative and just be you. See ya.